This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some big breaking news to share with you. Senate has just passed the $40 billion bill. I'll let you know what's in that bill and what it means for those $1,000 federal stimulus checks to every American if it's done. Also, I'll play a video clip from a critic of saying how that money should have been used to the American people instead. Also, Senate has passed two other bills, one of them to help lower the price of gas, and it is stimulus season, a lot of different stimulus checks coming out. So for Stimulus Check 2022, American employees to receive $1,000 payment, $300 checks being sent to thousands, and there may still be hope for monthly child tax credit payments in 2022. Here's why, and I'll give you some other important updates as well. Hope you're having a fantastic Friday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below, and I'm giving $200 to my subscribers. I'll talk more about that later on in the video, but first, huge news here. Senate passes $40 billion aid package for Ukraine. Bill providing military and economic assistance now goes to President Biden's desk, which President Biden is going to sign off on it. If you want to know what's in that bill and how it's going to affect Ukraine, take a look at this video clip right here.
In Washington, the Senate overwhelmingly passing a new $40 billion Ukraine aid bill. Meanwhile, President Biden meeting with the leaders of Finland and Sweden at the White House about their NATO applications. We've got team coverage. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Raff is on the Hill, and NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memoli is in Seoul, South Korea, ahead of the president's arrival there. Ali, the Senate passed this Ukraine aid bill 86-11. Tell us what's in it and who voted against it.
Yeah, Allison, well, roughly 3 weeks after President Biden initially requested this funding, the Senate passed today this 10th aid package for Ukraine, and at $40 billion. It's much more than President Biden's initial request. This $40 billion is divided into a couple sections. I'll tell you a little bit about where this money is going to go. There will be $19 billion in defense and intelligence support. $15 billion will go to the State Department for humanitarian and refugee aid, almost $4.5 billion to disaster aid, and $5 billion will go to the oversight of this money. As you mentioned, Allison, 11 senators opposed this bill, all of them Republicans. I believe we have a graphic here to show you exactly who those senators were, and all of them had differing reasons for why they were opposed to this bill. Some of them argued it's just too much money. Some of them said Europe should be responsible for footing a little bit more of this bill. Others said that there are other crises that Americans are dealing with, such as the crises at the U.S.-Mexico border, inflation, high gas prices, that the money in this package, some of it could go towards alleviating. One senator, specifically Senator Rand Paul, who opposed this bill, single-handedly held up the passage of this bill for a week after he requested the assignment of an inspector general to oversee where exactly this funding would go. At the end of the day, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer decided against that it should not be in the language of this legislation, and they'd move forward with this bill anyway. But despite all this, there was a success in the Senate today. This bill now heads to President Biden's desk for signature, something that he, I'm sure, has been eagerly awaiting doing for several weeks now, Allison.
All right, Mike. Pardon me. Let's talk about what's going on there. Secretary of State Antony Blinken announcing $100 million new military aid for Ukraine about an hour after that Senate vote we were just talking about. What is in that new package?
Yeah, and as Ali indicates, President Biden eager to sign that new aid package into law. He'll probably do so on his way here to South Korea. But interestingly, in the statement in which the president thanked congressional leadership for getting this through so quickly, he announced the latest, it's actually the 10th, what they call drawdown of defensive equipment for the Ukrainians. This is the 10th time that they are drawing down from the DoD stockpiles for this. And you see some of the equipment there. It's howitzers, tactical vehicles to get those howitzers to the Ukrainians quickly, and also counter-artillery radar. This is equipment that the administration says can really support the kind of efforts the Ukrainians have been waging valiantly in the face of Russia's aggression. Now, this brings to about $4 billion the total amount of security assistance the Biden administration has provided since Russia began its invasion. But as Ali also indicated, the balance in this new aid package is significantly more tilted towards the security assistance side. So there's a lot more on the way.
So what are your thoughts? Should that $40 billion go to help Ukraine? Should it be used to help out the American people? Well, there was one Republican Congress member who said this. he urged $1,000 for every American over the Ukraine aid. So what does that mean for this? $1,000 stimulus checks to every American, most likely not going to happen since that money is now going to Ukraine, $40 billion. It was held up in the Senate by Senator Rand Paul, and there were a few other Republican senators who did not vote for it, as mentioned before. So here are 11 Republican senators who voted against the $40 billion Ukraine package. Here is a Congress member in the House who voted against it, saying how the money could have went to the American people instead and why he voted against it. Take a look at this criticism right here.
So the Senate has just passed the $40 billion Ukraine aid bill. Joe Biden is expected to gleefully sign it very soon. 11 Republican senators voted against it. In the House, 57 Republicans opposed the bill. One of them was Texas Congressman Chip Roy. Here's why he said he voted against it.
When I hear the majority leader of the other party say, quote, a time of war, when I sat with the majority leader in a Rules Committee meeting upstairs and he said, we're at war, and I'm wondering when we voted to go to war. If we're going to have a proxy war and we're going to give $40 billion to Ukraine because we want to look all fancy with our blue and yellow ribbons and feel good about ourselves, maybe we should actually have a debate in this chamber, a debate in this body, because the American people expect us to do that.
So that's the majority view in the country. That's what most people think. It's not at all what the leaders of both parties think, and they are absolutely united in this. Ukraine's borders are not just more important than our borders, but they're so much more important that they're spending 10x protecting Ukraine than what they're spending protecting this country from fentanyl pouring in and human trafficking, because that's what they care about. Chip Roy is the man you just saw from Texas. He joins us tonight. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us tonight. You are one of relatively few to say this. I think you're probably speaking for the majority of your constituents, are you not?
Yeah, no question, Tucker. I've gotten nothing but positive feedback from all the people that I represent in Texas who are just sick and tired of business as usual in Washington. And look, you posed the question to senators. Look, I had 5 hours to make a decision about that bill. I didn't think it was that hard. You posed a question to senators, that, asked them to come on your show to defend the vote. Did any of them take you up on it?
Not one. Not one.
Yeah, of course not. Because it's indefensible to fund $40 billion unpaid for at a time of rampant inflation in our country. In effect, you're basically pouring $5 gasoline on the runaway fire of inflation for the men and women who you're working hard throughout this country. And the senators are now hiding behind saying, oh, $40 billion isn't that much money, Tucker. $40 billion isn't that much money. And you know what they're saying? They're saying, take a leap of faith and make sure that we put our faith in the brass at the Pentagon. The same brass that walked out of Afghanistan, leaving $85 billion of equipment behind, walked away from Bagram. The same brass that told us 2 months ago that Kiev would fall in a week. Why are we following that? The Senate should be ashamed of itself, passing a $40 billion unpaid for bill, while the American people are suffering with rampant inflation. And now, you know what's happening in the House? You have my colleagues in the House who are coming up to me and saying, oh, Chip, you guys in the Freedom Caucus are daring to force votes on a bunch of bills and making us vote. We missed 8 fundraisers this week. Fundraisers, Tucker. Oh, I'm sorry. Did we interfere with your steak dinner rather than doing the work for the American people? That's what the American people are sick of in this town.
What are your thoughts? Do you agree, disagree? So as mentioned, I couldn't find any other interviews on news stations where senators were actually promoting that $40 billion deal, or $40 million bill. A lot of people have made statements here and there, but I couldn't find an interview. I like to have counter arguments to everything, but as he said, couldn't really find any other interviews promoting it. Not sure why, but let me know your thoughts on all of that. And it is starting to become stimulus season, starting to see more and more pushes for stimulus checks as we're nearing the midterm elections. So my prediction is this: we're probably going to start to see more stimulus proposals now, potentially passed right before the midterm election vote. So we're going to see a lot of this coming out for Stimulus Check 2022. American employees to receive a $1,000 payment. This is going on in North Carolina. They wanted to promote businesses and communities, and they're going to start to, saying many residents are still dealing with the aftermath of the pandemic and rising costs, and the governor, Cooper, his proposed budget that would invest in the workforce, training, high-paying jobs, quality healthcare, clean air, and drinking water and infrastructure. And then payments of $300 being sent to thousands. So this is going on in Hawaii. This proposal has been out for a while, but as I mentioned before, to try to get votes, since it did kind of work in the last election. It got 2 seats in the Georgia Senate when they were pushing the $2,000 stimulus checks, and President Biden pushing the $2,000 stimulus checks, as well as $200 extra for Social Security, student loan forgiveness. A lot of those promises, I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see it closer to the November election, the midterm election. So here's another one here, and then stimulus update. There may still be hope for monthly child tax credit payments in 2022. Here's why. So I'll give you my opinion on this. So basically in this article, it's saying how things are really bad. Households are suffering from the 8% inflation rate. Mid-May, food prices were up 9.4%, and how a child tax credit is needed. But will it happen? Well, it's possible. It all depends on Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, as it always has. There's almost every other Democrat wants to have child tax credits again. If they could get Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema on board, if they do get on board, it'll probably be severely restricted. So in terms of this article, basically saying it might happen because of how bad the situation is. Just want to give you the truth there. And then speaking of child tax credits, Connecticut families can apply for child tax credit starting June 1st. So this is just in Connecticut. And if you're in Connecticut, you can get $250 per child starting June 1st. So yeah, we're starting to see all different types of state stimulus check and stimulus provisions like that. Speaking of stimulus, on another level here, China's stimulus tops $5 trillion as COVID-0 hits economy. If you're not familiar, China has had probably the strongest and harshest lockdowns due to COVID in many different cities, and they are giving $5.3 trillion pumping into the economy this year. If you want to see how that money is being spent, you could look at this chart right here. And basically, almost no stimulus checks there. At least it doesn't say it in this article. Maybe there is some form of it. And speaking of other things that the Senate is passing, Senate passes bill to expand infant formula access. So this was yesterday, or the Access to Baby Formula Act passed the House late Wednesday on a rare bipartisan vote, 414 to 9, and now heads to President Biden's desk for his signature. So even with this bill, they're still saying it's gonna take a few weeks before the infant formula makes its way to the shelves, but this is more to prevent problems later on down the road as well. And then also, House passes gasoline price gouging bill. So there are no gas debit cards, gas checks, or things like that. Instead, the Congress has gone the route of trying to attack the oil companies instead. Take a look at this video clip explaining more.
Let's talk about gas prices now. In Washington, the House has approved a bill to crack down on price gouging.
President Joe Biden now has the authority to declare an energy emergency, giving the Federal Trade Commission to punish price gouging companies.
This comes as gas prices have begun climbing again.
The average price of unleaded in LA County, Long Beach area is $6.10. In Orange County, it's a tad under that, but they're the highest recorded average prices. Last month, it was $5.80 in LA, in the OC $5.75. Today's bill was approved, $2.17 to $2.07. Now it goes to the Senate, where a similar bill is pending. It faces a greater challenge amid a 50-50 split between Democrats and Republicans.
What are your thoughts on that? Would you have preferred a gas check of, let's say, $200 or $100 or monthly gas checks until the prices go down? Or do you think this is a good way to solve the problem? Let me know your thoughts on that. That is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. I want to tell you the one thing that you should do. So when you have to treat people equally, and make sure that if you treat people nice, they'll treat you back nice.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your support. Don't forget, I'm giving out the $200 checks to my subscribers. Details on how to enter that down in the description below. Still a few days left to sign up if you haven't already. And today I'm actually giving surfing lessons to a bunch of friends and my daughter's friends at the beach today. So I've been surfing for a while, and I did this last year. Loved it. Kids just love doing all the surfing and stuff, so really excited about that. Gonna go teach some kids how to surf. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day and weekend. If you want to check out my latest videos on my other channel, you could click up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe, Thank you for watching.